And I remember saying, I remember someone said, oh, there's no friends in business. And I remember real disregarding that comment and being like, we're going to be the ones to change that. We're going to be that pure company that we are friends with everyone, which we are to an extent, but we've definitely learned. I understand the true value in that saying now, that you can get on with everyone in business, but there's no,
and when there's changes and decisions have to be made, you just,
yeah, your business always comes first.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, I'm joined by two titans in the beauty industry. I'm joined by Heather and Sarah Edgerton, owners of the SHE brand. And their introduction, just before we kind of got to the recording of this, it was quite funny because they've got a long list of accomplishments. So I'll run through some now. They own and operate SHE Lash, SHE Aesthetics, the SHE podcast, SHE Academy. They also have countless brand ambassadors and work with many celebrities. They've got 3 locations at the moment: Shrewsbury, Chester, and Ibiza. So welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us. We feel privileged. This is the first ever podcast that we've been interviewed on. I feel nervous.
Well, it's definitely a different experience, isn't it? When you go from hosting a podcast to being on the other end of it. It's different. But I wanted to get you two on here today because I think what you two have achieved within not even within the beauty industry, I think, as a business, as a business mind, and people who I get onto this podcast are normally people that I'm interested by and I'm inspired by, and I think have massive value to bring to not only my listeners, but just the world. So what I want to do really today is kind of go through the journey. Where did it all start for the SHE brand? What were you doing before SHE, really? Like, take me back to the very beginnings of where that was conceptualized.
Naturally, Sarah, you take this away.
So SHE was nothing. I originally had my lashes done. And at that moment when I looked in that mirror, I couldn't believe how they made me feel. So one, I was completely sold on the product, if you like, and then got to know my lash tech, and she was like, oh, I've got 5 clients in after you, and it was £50. So I was thinking, oh my God, 50 times 5, that's 250 quid in a day she's making. I couldn't believe it. Me on my little £7.20 an hour working for adults with learning disabilities. So I was doing my nursing degree at the time, so I did that as a sideline, and I just got busier and busier. Heather came back from Ibiza and I said, hey, I'm earning good money doing this lashes, I need you to help me out while I do my dissertation to take on some of my clients. You took to it so well. Our client base got even busier, and we just knew we had something very special, just even with that small start of clients.
I think we had big goals even from the start, didn't we?
Massive.
Like, we were there in our mum and dad's spare bedroom, because that's where we were doing the lashes from. Up after like working a 12-hour shift, emailing Chris Jenner's publication saying, we want to do all your daughter's lashes, because we knew we were going to do it. We were like, well, we're the best. We were like, not the best, but we just had that belief that we're going to be real big one day. We're going to be really, really big. And it's just so funny to look back on. But like, real naive, isn't it? We were young, just done lashes for like 6 months to a year. We're like, oh,
I was expecting an email back from Chris Jenner. I'm not going to lie. I was like, she's going to reply.
She never replied.
Oh, sorry.
I love that though. I think there's something really special about a lot of entrepreneurs and business people and people of any kind of success, really. I think it's all in the mindset. It's all in the belief. Obviously, there's a very big difference between arrogance and confidence, but I think there's something interesting about how, people like yourselves view their abilities. It's very growth mindset based. It's very, there is no reason. I remember I started as a really high level gymnast, and that's how I found my entry road into personal training. And I remember thinking, like, there's nothing separating me from these Olympians. There's nothing separating me except from their practices. Like, I learned to unpick what they were doing and go, okay, cool. Well, then there's no reason why I can't apply that. And I think it's really cool to kind of see how that kind of stems, and that's the kind of like the common ground in a lot of different people, and people move up from there. So that's really, really cool. So you mentioned, and I think it's really interesting that you mentioned you were in your parents' spare room, and because I think it's so relatable to so many people. That's how they start their businesses, as side hustles or in their parents' house, or whatever. But what did that like average day look for you back then?
I mean, well, to put it right, it started off in our mum and dad's attic room, didn't it?
Yeah.
And this was tiny.
Mhm.
Think of the tiniest. It was literally you could comfortably fit in one beauty bed to do your clients on. So when I came along, to fit in 2 beauty beds was like, oh god, it's gonna be a tight squeeze.
It was.
And there was just one day, we'll never forget it. This was the day that we were like, oh, okay, we need to expand. We were back to back, so Sarah's, was on and off with clients all day. My bed was on and off with clients all day. And if ever the clients got off at the same time, it'd be like, oh, let's squeeze past each other. And I had a client that brought her new puppy to her appointment, and then a friend to look after the puppy. Sarah's client brought her newborn baby and a babysitter to look after the baby. So what's that? 2 lash techs, 2 clients, a babysitter, a puppy, and a friend, all in one room. Hell. We were running over, and we had clients like sitting on our mum and dad's stairs waiting to come in, and our mum and dad's driveway was just like a constant car park all the time. We were just like, this is insane, this isn't normal. And then we were like, right, time to expand. So we moved all the way from our parents' attic room to downstairs in the slightly ever so bigger spare bedroom, which was like probably, I don't know, like a couple square meters bigger. Not that much.
2 beds in.
Fit an extra 2 beds in, that's it. And again, we were just expanding. And then it came to the point that we were working so much in the day that we didn't have time to reply back to our clients at night. So we were like, oh, should we pay someone to do all of our admin and book clients in? And begrudgingly we did, didn't we? So we were like, it was going to be like £200 pay for someone just to message people back.
Yeah.
And at that point, I must have been real tight, because I was just like, not paying someone £200. So like, I can do it myself. But when you work that much, you realise you don't have the time. And it was the best £200 ever spent, because here our PA Emily was getting back to everyone and freed us so much time. Yeah. What she did is she started doing a cancellation list. And she basically was booking everyone in, and anyone that couldn't get an appointment that week, she'd put them on this list. So, okay, if anyone cancels that week, girls, like, I'll message you. And this list, as the weeks went on, grew and grew and grew. And it got to a point that our PM was like, girls, you've got like 200 girls a month that can't fit in with you. And we were like, God, that's like, we can get a team of lash techs to get all those people in. And that's what we did, didn't we? That was the first kind of, slowly but surely we started adding people to our team, didn't we? Yeah, we were like, right, let's grow this. We don't want to say no to people. We want everyone to be able to get an appointment at SHE Lash, and that's what naturally forced us to expand our team and train everyone. And that was probably the first. And it was just mental, wasn't it?
It was mental.
But we loved it.
It was just more cool. It was more, oh God, unprofessional vibes. Like, we'd be there in my fake tan ready for my night out, like, come on in my pajamas, like, yeah,
it's all just
good times. When I look back at it, real good times.
Clients would turn up in their pajamas. People would be shocked, but because they'd see our Instagram, seeing this real, I don't know, like fun, maybe corporate brand, not even corporate, but a bit brandy, like it looks semi-professional, I think. And then they'd turn up to this house in the middle of nowhere, our mum and dad's house, like, oh, where's the salon? Where is it? And we're like, oh, are you in the middle of a field? Oh, that's us. And they're like, you'd get people traveling from the city to come to like shop and be like, hi. And we're like, come on in, take your shoes off. And they're like, what the hell? But yeah, and that naturally grew, didn't we? It was when our team grew that obviously we couldn't have, I think it was more for our parents as well, having all these strangers come into their house. And we were like, right, let's move somewhere more professional. And we rented out a room in a gym, which was actually smaller, I think, than the second spare bedroom.
It was smaller.
We outgrew that within like 3 or 4 months, and then got our official town centre place. Then we outgrew that in like a year and a half, and then we're where we are now, which doesn't look so pretty, but this is our little home for hopefully forever.
How long? What was the timeline then? So you mentioned you were upstairs in the spare room, then you went downstairs to the salon. What kind of time frame was that?
That was 1.5 years, year and a half to 2 years before we went to a salon base. Yeah.
So that's very quick. So what do you think the reason was between you kind of stumbling across this and thinking, this is a really good opportunity for me, to then all of a sudden you're in a salon, you've now got 200 extra clients that can't get in a month. What was the reasoning behind that rapid growth? And just,
I personally think our skill set, there was we brought something new to the market that no one had seen. So one, that was getting the new people in, so that was our cancellation lifters, girls that wanted to come and visit SHE Lash. But the most important reason that I know why SHE Lash grew was mine and Heather's customer service, because we treat every client like they're our best friend, and some of them turn out to be just that, and they weren't just coming for the service, they were coming for the experience they had in our company.
I think just feeling comfortable and uplifted, and none of that like general like salon jargon is, are you going on holiday, babe? And no one's really caring. Like, it's just a sale, isn't it? Some people are like, oh, I've got 6 clients in today, on to the next one, when's my lunch break? When people walked in, we're like, how are you? Oh my God, how's your boyfriend? How's your sex life? Oh my God, tell us about your trauma. Have you got any daddy issues? Like, it was like a brilliant opportunity for people to get their lashes done,
don't they? They literally think we're not well.
But that's and that, along with, like you said, this new style of lashing that we're doing that no one else was doing, kind of was our special little thing, I would say. That made us stand out a little bit from the rest.
Was that kind of like an organic directional choice and just who you were authentically as to the customer service and how much you cared? Or was it kind of more of a, you got really good advice? Because I think the thing is that when you get into business, it's a lot of people get into self-employed business for the reasons that you mentioned, Sarah. Like, you know, the money-making opportunity is the first driving force. But then the problem is when you start to treat clients in that manner, they don't like it. Customer service is number one. And you could have a terrible product and be very good at customer service and have a very good business purely for that reason. The fact that you've kind of paired both up has just shot you up really, really quickly.
Definitely. I think it was just authentic, wasn't it? There was no advice given. I don't think we've been given any advice. It's always
we need advice now. This is when we need our advice. We're like, oh God, what do we do with this?
Help us. It's growing. But yeah, I think it was very much authentic. So we just enjoyed it. We generally got up every day and loved it. I think we couldn't believe how lucky we were to wake up, work with girls every day, like people that you meet. You just get to chat with them, make them feel amazing, and earning good money that we'd never earned before. We just felt like the luckiest people on earth, and we were so grateful for it.
And we were obsessed with it, weren't we? We didn't do it half-hearted. We were working every single day. It's just, we loved it. It wasn't a job. It was our hobby, our life, everything. Loved watching it grow.
That was a real good style of SHE Lash. I think that was not in a way, probably not the best part of SHE Lash, but like the most special. Because it was so like there wasn't any direction with it. It was just right, we love what we do, and then it just naturally, I feel like we've had to upkeep with the business, not the other way around. It was never like, oh my God, we want to be real rich and we want to grow this and want the academy. It was kind of like we did what we did every day because we loved it, and then the business forced us to expand, forced us to get a new promotion, forced us to get new staff, it forced us to start a training academy. It was always the business telling us what to do.
No, that's true.
It was never us being like, oh, we want this. It was always just like, right, let's turn up, do the best that we can and love what we do, and then everything else just naturally flowed.
No, it makes total sense. You know, the demand obviously dictated the direction of your business, and that's great. So I think that something that I really want to dig in on a little bit for both of you is, I know that you're both very big on self-development, spirituality. Where did that come from?
I don't know about you, but I think me and Heather have always grown up knowing that we wanted to do well, haven't we?
I think
we've always wanted, whatever job we wanted to, like for me, for example, for my nursing, I always knew that I was going to be at the highest level of whatever that was. I knew I was going to be like band 10 or whatever it is.
No,
And
I know,
same
I
for
completely
you.
agree. You know, it's so
Whatever-
crazy. Go on, no,
Just saying, whatever we put our mind to, whatever we were going to put our mind to, regardless of whether that was lashing, we knew we were going to do it well and
Yeah.
exceed.
even in primary school, you know, you just knew, it's just like an internal feeling. But I
Yeah.
think also, I don't know where that comes from, but I think our dad
Yeah.
would be a brilliant, strong mentor on that, because he's always been
That's
the
where it stems from, isn't it?
he's like the
Definitely.
dreamer and believer kind of person that you meet in life, and he's like, oh, go do it then, you can do anything. I remember saying to our brother, he was like, if you want to be the next John Lennon, right, and he bought him a guitar when he was like 16.
Yeah.
Things like that, it doesn't limit on what you can do when you're a child. And
Oh
it's
my
just,
god, I just had an epiphany. This is where
What?
it's come from.
this is where it's come from.
It's our dad.
Because he's just like, you can do anything, and telling that to someone like a 5-year-old, 6 growing up, you just believe it, like, oh, I'm better than this. But you know, sometimes like school real limits you in some things.
Yeah.
Like I remember a teacher saying to me, I remember early on, I said, oh, I want to go to beauty school, and the teacher was like, oh, you don't want to do that, you don't want to be stuck on some Wem High Street and be a beautician. And because of that, I didn't go to beauty college that year. And but so influential when you're a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
it frames you in this little box. But luckily we had deep roots from our dad of saying you can do anything.
And he used to drop us off at school, and he'd say every single day, he had to tell us to repeat it to him, and he'd say, strive to be happy.
Yeah,
and he'd say,
that's
say it, strive to be happy. Every time we got out of the car to walk to school, and I'd be like, oh, strive to be happy. But now I'm like, oh my god, yeah, just strive to be happy.
Yeah,
That's
I think when
the
you've got that
thing.
internal goal in yourself, you just do everything authentic again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're not doing anything because you. Yeah.
And we've never been given a not that I wouldn't, like, I feel like I'm talking like, oh, we've made it. We definitely haven't. We're in this little hustle way, but we've never been given anything either. So if we wanted a holiday, we'd have to earn it and go for it ourselves. So I've always liked holidays.
Oh yeah, there's never been any financial, here you go.
No,
here's that
there's
startup.
10, 20 grand. Good luck. That's I wish that happened.
Yeah. No, but that's a
Yeah,
real
and
special thing, I think, to have that direction, that focus and that belief from a young age. I think society, and you mentioned even like schooling, you know, teachers have a massive responsibility that I don't think we've necessarily looked at from a psychological point of view, because, you know, stuff like sets, you know, if you're bottom set of something, it creates this limiting belief that you're terrible at whatever that subject is. You know,
it does
so
that.
true.
It does.
yeah. And I think
You should be with a psychologist. You're right. That's a good one.
yeah, and then also you've got situations where, you know, we've got teachers that are, you mentioned as well there, Heather, that you know, teachers are saying to kids at certain ages, you know, are you sure you want to do that? Because that's based off their experience. It's based off their experience of the beauty industry, and that might not be a good experience. Now, everyone has different experiences and life lessons, but I remember when I got into personal training, it was 10 years ago now. So the fitness industry was so different back then. Nobody did that as a full-time job. Online training didn't even exist back then. And I remember I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a personal trainer. And everybody said to me at the same time, they were like, make sure you get a real job as well, just in case. And I was like, I remember thinking, what's a real job? Like, it's such a weird use of language, but then it's also so dismissive. And we have this kind of culture of accidentally creating these limiting beliefs in people that we then have to unpick and learn to realize that actually there is more than one path to success, happiness, whatever you want to define it as.
And it's kind of like a heavily generational thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like our parents, I remember my gran saying that to me, like, oh God, don't do hairdressing, don't do this. And our mum is a bit, very much,
She was like, go do your nursing, it's a
steady career,
steady job,
you'll always be in a job with stuff like that. Or she's very, very much like that, but like most people are, because that's what you get taught, isn't it? Just get yourself a steady job. And we have actually a brand ambassador. She was doing lashing on the side of her dental nursing, and you know Jessie, I'm not allowed to say her name. I'm sure she won't mind. I'm sure she's very proud of it now. But she messaged saying, oh, I'm gonna give up my dental nursing and do lashing full time because it's going incredible. She was like, how do I approach it, or how do I explain it to my parents, because they not, I think, frowned upon it a bit and made it feel a bit uneasy. But she had the talk with them, and now she's got her own salon. In fact, she only opened up her salon today. I think it was launched yesterday. She's got her own training academy, and it's just expanding. I'm sure her parents now are seeing. It's kind of like we're kind of paving a new way, or like living proof that, do you know what I mean? You don't always have to go with that normal path of a normal job, because I think at the end of the day, as long as you're happy and you can do things a bit unconventionally, can't you?
Oh God,
Your roots. So yeah.
I think we live in a special age though as well. Like I think generationally, that was the pathway. You know, it was very, very hard to be an entrepreneur or a business owner 20 years ago even. But if you go 40 years back, it was even more difficult. So I think we're still kind of living with the echoes of, you know, everybody knows that, like, you know, when you're in school, you go to college, you go to uni, you get a good job, you settle down, you get married, and obviously you buy a house at some point. And that's kind of the pathway. And I think that I say this quite a lot to people is we're not on a deadline in life. Like, we've got so much time here, and everyone's time frame is different in terms of the fact that we will all succeed different things based on what we want to achieve. And then also the timing will change. And I think social media has made this kind of opportunity for each and every one of us to do something so unseen before.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is a big heavily like,
everybody's running businesses from their phones, aren't they? It's so easily accessible to be an entrepreneur.
And I'm having a side hustle as well is like heavily not admired but promoted, isn't it? Like, have you got your side hustle? Now it's kind of like, do your day job, but what's your side hustle? You know what I mean? What's your thing that keeps you?
So I'm really interested as well in, because of the growth of the business, it was so quick. You mentioned obviously that you employed someone to do your admin, like a PA. What kind of learning hurdles were there? Because obviously that's gone from, you know, managing a few clients is fairly easy, but, you know, going to scale, then you've got stuff like, you know, you do your own products as well. What was the learning curve there? What did you come up against? Was there any issues early on that you had to iron out, or was it just kind of, you just moved with it?
Still ironing them out to this day, Dan.
You know, we always say you can do like a business degree at uni, but this business in the past 5 years has taught us so much that no degree ever could have. So it's just been first-hand experience in every aspect you could think of in business. Speaking with clients, customer service, then it's the backlog of a business,
the accountants,
the
VAT, the tax, the this, the that. We get bills coming out of our ears. I'm like, what's this for?
Promotion and product, backlog of a website, all these things. I feel like it's such a good business model that you can implement in any business. Honestly, like it's taught us so much, and I think we're still so far away as well. And there's still so much. But learning curves, just to pick out a few. Oh God, what was mine?
I'd say like stock and everything that you can do by yourself is brilliant. But this is something we really struggled with when we were taking on lash technicians, for example, to replicate you and how you treat your customers to another person is so difficult. They literally have to.
It is difficult. I think that was our mistake actually, because when everyone was like, oh, you've got this overflow of 200 clients, we're like, right, okay, let's bring in a strong team, train them to replicate our skill set of applying lashes perfectly. To which they did. They know all the lash marks like the back of the hand, and they were getting that exact replicated skill. And what we found was clients were still requesting to book in with myself and Sarah. But why? Everyone, you know, the latest lash tech is just as good as us. And what we found is we weren't passing on that customer service feel as well. Like, you can't expect to just do a brilliant job in terms of like the skill that you're giving and not have that warm customer service associated with it, especially in the beauty industry, because you want people to book in back in with you. That's the whole part of it, isn't it? So I think we slipped up there in a way. So now our training is very much like customer service as well as the skill. Like it's two fundamental blocks, isn't there?
It's not just your skill. If you don't fit that customer service side, that's more important to me than that, because I can teach you that, but I can't teach you that.
That can come to time. 100%.
And managing staff, that's the hardest part, I think.
Actually, I think another learning curve would be, it is really, really hard, because me and Sarah want to be everyone's best friend. And I think we're quite people pleasers, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Naturally, we're quite people, and we just want everyone to love us. And it's not everyone to love us, but we want everyone to have a great time when they came to work. And that was the foundation of our company. I remember saying, actually, when we had our first employee, we wanted in the contract that if any of them got, because we're like a team of women.
Oh my God, we did.
If any of you get a broken heart, you know, like you found out your man's cheated on you or whatever, then you get annual sick day, and we drop off the hamper with like ice cream and like chocolates, and that was the company we wanted to create and build. You know, this beautiful, just pure-hearted company for women,
and we wanted everybody to be as like kind of like successful as us, but on par, which at the time, that's crazy.
Just wanted everyone to love their job, which they do. And I think as over time you cannot be best friend, and sometimes business and friends just don't mix. You've got to have that line now, which we've learned the hard way, I'd say. Definitely. So that's been a massive learning curve. And I remember someone said, oh, there's no friends in business, and I remember real disregarding that comment and being like, we're going to be the ones to change that. We're going to be that pure company that we are friends with everyone, which we are to an extent, but we've definitely learned. I understand the true value in that saying now, that you can get on with everyone in business, but there's no,
and when there's changes and decisions have to be made, you just,
your business always comes first. Like, look after your staff well and everyone you work with to the best of your ability. When it comes over to your business, always comes first every time, because that's your baby, isn't it? It's our baby.
You can't take my baby.
How did you go about implementing some boundaries then when it came to because obviously you both said that you're people pleasers, which is obviously one of the reasons why your business has flourished, but then also taking a step back and making sure that, you know, some of your employees, you know, people that you do business with, don't take advantage of you is a real challenging thing. So how did you go about establishing some boundaries or taking that step back to make sure that it was almost clear cut business versus friends?
Yes, we're still in that process, because it's only probably been the last 2 years that we've actually put our business first. So we've had to make pay cuts as well, because we were completely overpaying people, and when I look back at how much I was paying somebody to do a training course, it's unbelievable money.
And they were like, they get paid what? And it was just like, what is that? Is that a lot? And they're like, mate, have you heard how much they're paying that? And it was just like, what are we missing here?
My partner can't believe it. He's like, you're mental. But if you pay people on an hourly wage, which is the norm in society, they're, you know, 12, 13, £10 an hour, then our business is happy and thriving. But the problem is we went and give everything at the start, but to take that away is,
and say, okay, we're changing the rules now. We've got to make it, but we can't be on a loss. We need to make the business not only break even, but it needs to get something as well.
And that's poor management from our side, but we knew no different. We just wanted everybody to be
and it's kind of like, once all the figures got printed off, we're like, hey, right, that's not adding up. Right, we need to make some big changes here, because we can't go on like this forever. Everyone gets in the long ball, not you know, have this business just to suit everyone else. Like, it needs to be.
And there was a good saying, actually, once my table is full,
then you can eat,
then I will feed you and you can eat from it. I'm not going to give you my food until my table isn't full myself.
And I was like,
and that's something I do live by.
And our table ain't full yet at all.
Because we're all givers, aren't we? And when it is full, I'll be like, hey, have more, let's go.
At the minute, I'm splitting my Kit Kat chunky M&Ts. I don't think we will give so much, won't we? But we're just not there yet.
No, we're not. We're doing it for everyone.
I think it's akin to the analogy when, you know, when they do the safety brief on a flight, they say, you know, put your mask on first. And the reason why is because if you put your oxygen mask on first, you're calm, you're relaxed, and you can help other people. Even if it's your child or whatever, you're best serving yourself first so that you can serve others. And I think our society, culture, however you want to frame it, we still demonize that as selfishness, when actually that's just self-care, self-love, self-affection, however, again, you want to label that. But going back to that analogy of the full table, the full glass, I use that with clients. You know, if you've got a full glass, you can give everyone a bit of your water, a bit of your drink. But if your glass is empty because you're burnt out, no matter how much you want to help people, whether it's clients, friends, family, business associates, employees, whatever, you've got nothing to give. And that's a problem in business, if you've got nothing to give.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we want to give. Do you know what I mean? That's why do you know what I mean? We're doing this.
Best feelings when we give people stuff, isn't it? That's
yeah.
I don't know, it's
literally the best. So that's why we're doing it. Got more to give in the long run. But what I don't want is to look back in 20, 30 years time and think, oh my God, we majorly fucked up because we were just two givers. Well, are we slapping us in the face? So I'm glad we learned the hard way. So maybe it would have been best to have that business advisor to recognizing it in ourselves then.
Yeah.
To which we did to an extent. I remember our dad saying, "You're too bloody generous, both of you." And we're like, "Shut up, we know what we're doing." But we've learned naturally the hard way. But I'm glad we've recognized it now.
Yeah.
Than not recognize it, because we've got a chance to kind of be on the more straight and narrow road now.
Obviously, you're incredibly busy with the long list that I mentioned. What do you like to do outside of the realm of the She brand?
I like to close my eyes and have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I think we're still in that real everything's about the business stage. So I've got a vision in my mind of what gives me peace, but we're not there yet, and I don't feel like we can stop. We're definitely got more balance than we had. Definitely.
I don't know if anyone, have you heard of Grace Beverly? She's just brought out a book. She's brought out a book at the minute. I've only read like one or two chapters, but what I've learned in that one or two chapters is like invaluable to us right now. But she was sorry. I think there's a dog chewing a bunch. Sorry for the background noise.
She's having a biscuit.
But she, a very young entrepreneur, who worked herself so hard 24/7 that she ended up having a seizure. Like, she worked herself that hard, and obviously she had to cut herself back. But in this book, in the first chapter, she's all about recognizing how to have a healthy work balance, especially when you own a business and it's all on you to grow and flourish it, because you constantly have this pressure to constantly be working, because it's all like, do you know what I mean? It's your future you're working towards. So why would you have a break? Because more times than not, when you've got your own business, you don't want to have a break. Like, all you want to do is put into your business, whether that be just doing social media and creating content, or to replying back to comments, or thinking an idea, or writing lists, or creating your website. You always just want to do it because you've got that natural inner fuel to want it to be good. However, when you constantly do that all the time, and do you know what I mean? It consumes you. Then you don't have, I don't know, that separation, that work-life balance. She was saying that nowadays you can do, like, work as your phone, isn't it? So back in the day, say like 90s or early 2000s, you'd go to your job in an office, and even if you're self-employed, but once you've left that office, the work stops. Do you know what I mean? You go home, have your dinner, chill. Whereas these days, this is glued to my hand, and this is just my office. Like, there's always content, something to post, an email to get back to, a course to be promoted for, an online tutorial to edit. So when I've left the HQ and I go home and I'm sat on my sofa and my phone's there, it's this guilt of, oh my God, well, I should be working, my phone's here, because there's always something to do. But she has highlighted that, saying, just know that you're not at work. Yes, your phone is kind of like an office, but just, you don't have to work. And we just kind of, and I only read that like last week I read that, and I'm like, oh yeah, she told me, and I was like, So
like light
now,
bulb. I was like, yeah, let's
it
have
just-
a work phone. Nothing
it just
phone.
takes someone to just say it, and it just by reading that, I now look at my phone like an office, because I naturally, even if I'm going to scroll on Instagram or I'm replying back to a friend, I will naturally then reply back to a message from someone at work, asking a question, and then a client messaging. I'm like, hold on, I come to work to do my hours, and just once we leave, we should leave, unless it's like, you know, an emergency. So we're figuring that out. But even River, our social media PA, who's currently in the room, she believes in this company and business so much that at the minute, I don't know what, there's just something in the air, isn't there, about SHE Lash? Like, it's consuming all of our minds at the minute, and we're all trying to help each other out of just having a work-life balance. So we've said no work on weekends, aren't we? That's been our rule.
Someone broke it this weekend.
Yeah, we wrote in the group chat saying something about work. We were like, it's a Sunday, what do we not do on Sundays? Work. So we're trying to all have that work-life balance, because then you enjoy work more. You come into work like, oh my god, right, what needs to be done? Not like, oh my god, I worked all weekend, right, what are we doing today? Again, you feel back, you're like building up that passion a bit more, because you live your life, you know, you know the things that you like to do, and then you realize, oh, I want this one day, oh, I do want a big house, and then that fuels you to, when you're in work, like, right, what can we do today to get closer to that point?
I think it's a really interesting point, because the phone makes us so available all the time, you know, even to people. And there's a certain amount of, it'd be interesting in 10 years time or 15 years time, when that's kind of become more of the social norm, and we can't understand the science or the psychological effects of it. Because I think that business, not just business, like friends, there's no off time. You know, we're constantly on our phones, we're constantly scrolling, we're constantly attached one way or another. And that's such a new, novel thing. We've never had that in the history of our species. And I think it will be very interesting to see how that unwinds, because, as you say, just taking that time to say, right, I'm not going to work. It's so difficult when you enjoy what you do, or you have a vision and you're motivated, because each day you work, like, you just think as a thought process, it's like, well, that's one day closer to what I want to achieve, so why would I not do that? And it's so difficult to take that step back when it is something that you enjoy. When I was employed, and before I started personal training, I was like living for the weekend, like most people do, because I didn't enjoy my work. So it's, for me, I had to take that step back. It was only a couple of years ago, when I got back from India and I was traveling around, that I was like, I'm not going to work weekends anymore. Because as a personal trainer, I was doing Saturday and Sunday sessions, and, you know, throughout the week, and all of a sudden I was working 7 days a week. And I was like, I started to actually not enjoy my job, because I didn't have a work-life balance. Everyone else was going out hiking or partying, whatever it kind of was. I'd miss it, because I'd be like, oh, I've got work. And to begin with, that was fine. And kind of the ego in me was like, yeah, you know, I'm working towards my dream. But then eventually, as I was more self-aware, I realized, actually, I'm not enjoying this as much as I thought I would, because there was just no balance.
So true.
Oh, Dan, you've got an interesting life.
India? So I went to India for 14 months, and there's a potential to go back. So I went out there training clients, and it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, actually. I did 32 cities when I was out there. And we did it was really cool. And I remember, actually, I'll tell this story a few times. When I went to India, when I first accepted the job, I thought it was going to be like desert. Like, I thought it was going to be like shanty towns and kind of, it was just so ignorant. I think basically just because that's all we see when you see it on TV. It's the Taj Mahal, it's the old kind of historic locations. And then when I turned up there, I could have been anywhere in Europe. Like, it was like the malls were as developed as, it was crazy. I was just like, didn't expect it at all. But then obviously in between the cities, it is very desert like. But it was really cool experience, and it taught me a lot. And also culturally, it taught me a lot, because in the West, we've got such a fast-paced culture, and then more towards the East you go, they really don't. Like, they slow down a lot more. They don't have this blurred line between work and their social and private life. Like, they really separate it. I mean, I was managing I was managing a big team when I was out in India as well. And we were working on the development of gyms and supplement stores and all sorts. So there was a lot of people underneath me. And I remember we were in meetings when I was working, it was full on because I went with that Western approach. So I was getting people in with meetings, working, crazy amounts. And then I'd set a deadline for some of my team and they'd miss it and be like, yeah, but we were all at a family wedding. And I was like, what? I'm sorry. The first time I heard that, I almost flipped to my lid. I was like, but then I realized that actually, like, I think there's something that we can take away from that. And I think there's something that we can learn as a culture, because they don't really have the same issues that we do with stress. Like, they're so much more relaxed and balanced. Whereas our society, everything, we want it now. And it's like, you just put the work in until you get it. And a deadline is a deadline. You don't miss it.
Yeah.
So I kind of walked away from that experience, trying to balance a bit more. And I came back and was like, yeah, I'm not working weekends anymore. I want my family time. I want to go and do things on my weekend that are separate from that. So hiking, just adventuring, traveling, whatever it is.
Mm. And it's so true what you said as well. Like you are, when you are working your weekends, like you're working Saturday, Sunday, and then, people your other age are out drinking and they're posting on the floor so hungover. You're so smug because everything you're doing is working towards, you have got that smugness, like, oh, I'm working on my future. Like, I don't need to go out, hustle every day. But like you said, it does bite you in the ass the longer you go on, because you're just consuming work. You do have to have, I'm not saying go drinking, stay in and just do a book, but do anything like other than work. It is really important finding that balance. That's amazing. I love that story. Me too.
And I think there's something to be said as well. Like, there's a lot of glamorization of being an entrepreneur at the moment as well. You mentioned the notorious word, that hustle word. And I think that
glamorous about it. No, there's not. There's not. But these bags. Oh yeah, I've aged loads in the past 2 years.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think social media, because it is so surface based, people look at real successful social media entrepreneurs on social media, and they go, well, I want that. And they don't necessarily realize, like, all the stuff that you guys are dealing with in the background. Like, there's such mundane tasks that you have to do that people don't realize. The mindset to being self-employed is, well, you can get up when you want, you can choose when you work when you want. And you're like, well, yes, but then I'd have a terrible living. Like, my business would be terrible, because if I didn't get up and go to work and do what I needed to do, the business wouldn't run itself.
Yeah, definitely. And you just don't switch off either, ever. I've got a headache right now. Yeah.
I think Elon Musk said something similar, actually. He said recently, I think he was like, I think he works like something crazy, like 18 or 20-hour days, and has like 4 hours sleep. But he actually said, like, I don't recommend anyone work as much as this, because it actually hurts my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. God.
And when I heard that, I just kind of thought, it's incredible, because so many people would like to be the richest man on the planet. But then also on the flip side, like, he's literally saying, don't do it, because it actually physiologically hurts me to do this, but I can't stop.
He's got to shorten his lifespan, surely.
100%, because you're
just tired. Like, you just,
And sleep. I had there's an episode coming out of this podcast, shameless plug again, I'm sorry, but I spoke to a doctor in St. Martin about sleep. Most of the issues that we experience as humans, even down to severe cognitive issues like dementia, Alzheimer's, those sorts of things, are all pretty much sleep related. So lack of sleep is the biggest, essentially one of the biggest killers, and one of the biggest reasons why we have these health issues. So it's like, if we don't sleep, if you don't get that 6-8 hours, whatever's like needed, it is going to shorten your life.
Sleep tonight.
Yeah, it was a real interesting episode. If you get the chance, have a listen to it, because it was he even laid out how to establish a good quality night's sleep. So talked about the sleep cycles, the science of it, and absolutely everything, put out like a template for people to be able to go, okay, cool, I know I'm going to be well rested and recovered. So I realize we've gone off on a massive tangent there, which is lovely, and I don't mind that at all. But let's get back to the She brands. Let's get back to you two. So what's next for the brand?
Wow, our list.
It's there's so many avenues that we've got to go down, and that's why we really need help to support with our business. But our website sales are the highest they've ever been. So again, the business is demanding us to
push more into that direction,
to that side of the business, and we absolutely love that side, so that's fine, it makes it easier. But also the training academy, it's the busiest it's ever been as well. Currently me and Heather are doing it because the main academy tutors on maternity leave, so we've done quite well, I think, since she's been off.
Trying to manage that has been
and it's been fun and it's been insightful, because you get back to basics and think, right, this is what it needs, things don't get missed. But now we've done interviews to have someone take the academy and really manage it and take it away and
grow it. We'll be there to oversee everything, but I think our main focus these next 6 months is our product side of things and training academy and just growth. Like we want to just be that modern beauty training facility, like a bit of a movement as well, you just want a bit of it. I don't know, just I do know, but we just want, it's hard to put it into words, isn't it? We know what we want, we're gonna get it. But our training academy is definitely going to be our big focus. But in all areas, we want to train aesthetics, don't we?
That's massive as well.
Become a recognised governing body within the beauty industry as that's a whole whirlwind. If you'd have told us that 5 years ago, I'm like, what the hell? What is that? But now it's like a whole new thing. But a big thing that me and Sarah always do is we always write down our goals, like all that. We started that when we were in our mum and dad's spare bedroom. We had this mirror that we were getting put up, and before we put it up, we were like, oh my god, there was like a Sharpie on the side. We were like, oh my god, let's write on it. And we put it on our story like maybe a year ago. And I can't remember. I think they got. Do you remember what you wrote down? Yours was like I want to pass my nursing degree. I think this is what you were in your first year.
Do aesthetics, was it?
Yeah, mine was like training semi-put makeup, have a fully booked diary, earn more than 25k a year, like all these little goals. And then obviously 2 years later, when we came to move out of that, we forgot that we wrote behind that mirror, and then we took the mirror down and we were like, oh my god, do you remember we wrote in that? And we were reading all these goals and we were like, oh my god, we ticked them all off. We couldn't believe it. It was lovely. We ticked them all off. I wish we had more self-belief in ourselves. So I look back at them and oh my god, what? I wish I was in like, X amount per year, because it's just funny how, but ever since then we write our goals down. So every photo frame that you ever see in SHE Lash or my house, my home, I always write a goal behind them. So I'm constantly walking past and around my goals, those words that are surrounding us like 24/7. And we did that with the old salon, didn't we? We were taking all the photo frames down, and again we were reading them like 2 years later, and it was just nice to tick some of them off. A few of them we haven't done yet, so I packed them back in their frames and put them back up in this HQ, but hopefully in like another year or two we would have crossed them off.
So that's really interesting, because they have so many people are advocates of writing down goals. And just as a point of personal curiosity, how did you frame those? Did you write those goals down like you'd already achieved them, like I do earn blah blah blah, or was it I want to earn?
I will, isn't it?
Yeah, I will. Or just like a list, like let me think of an example of one of them. There's so many, wasn't there? But on our photo frames, so it'll literally be, oh my god, let's get one up. Like behind this, I bet there's gonna be a goal behind it. So it's just like a normal photo frame. And if I open this up, there'll be like a little note in there. One of them was, oh, there wasn't one in that. Oh, was that a new one? Right, well, let's write one in there.
That's exactly what
we will have lashed a member from Little Mix, say.
Hey!
Or we will have this in our bank account, or our weekly sale. But we got everyone that works here as well at SHE to do the same thing. Like we gave them a photo frame, like write down your goals. So their goals are constantly around the place as well. Here we go. So we're writing
Oh no, this one I wrote down like 3 years ago.
No way!
You wouldn't bloody believe it.
We will be interviewed by Dan Witt. Wow!
Hey, big tip done.
When did you
There
write
we
that?
go.
2018?
Like 2018.
Bloody hell. Manifestation.
That's shocking, that one. I love that. That's great.
Brilliant.
Okay,
yeah,
so I saw actually as well that you've got a pretty big event in the next couple of weeks, right? Talk to me more about that.
But you can't.
Oh yeah, it's women only. Sorry, Dan.
Yeah.
We so would have invited you, but we've got this big thing where we're like, oh, women.
I'll say
women
that
only.
the DJs are mine.
Oh, true.
the
You
only
can come down if
exception.
you want. Sorry, you can come. Yeah, you can come. You can come. Sorry, yeah, change that. Yeah, because the DJ is. It's gonna be a lot of women though. Yeah.
So what's the what is the event?
The event is
The pink sketch.
it's called the Pink Sketch. We obviously train all the time. We do master classes, but we just thought, right, let's do a master class as if it was on steroids. Like it's just that's grown as well, hasn't it? That has been the number one. I think that's what the buzz in the area is around SHE Lash at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like the Pink Sketch is looming. Have we done this? Have we done that? Because the amount of planning that goes into an event like that is absolutely insane, isn't it? Like even just the littlest things that you wouldn't think of. And we really we just want this event to be one, educational. All of our models are semi-familiar faces. We've got Daisy O'Donnell, who is one of the UK's fastest growing influencers. And she's also got a clothing range with her sister in like the likes of Selfridges, flannel. She's just started her own fitness app. So as well as demonstrating one of our infamous lash maps on her on stage, so that all of our students will be learning that lash map, we're going to be doing a Q&A with our guests as well. So, you know, the likes of someone like her, she'll have, you know, a handful of
Invaluable
knowledge, invaluable business advice. Our other model, Chloe Ferry from Geordie Shore, I mean, she's got, I can't even list on my hands the amount of businesses and things that she's going on, so it'll be amazing to pick her brain. We've got a mindset coach speaker flying from Denmark just for the event, who's worked with the likes of Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins. So and not a lot of people, she's probably the most unknown name, isn't she? You know, if you're not from the UK, everyone's heard of, you know, Chloe Ferry, but I just know once Sasha's done her thing on stage, everyone in that room will have nothing but utmost respect and admiration for her, because she'll have so much like worldly advice to give. As well as that, it's going to be SHE Lash style. We're going to have drag queens. There's going to be tits out. We're going to have people twerking. There's going to be pink feathers and confetti. We're going to have a motorboat competition. There's going to be best dressed, pink everywhere. So it's just going to be all crazy, let loose, anything goes. As well as that nice, beautiful, uplifting, educational side as well.
Hey Dan, I've heard your sister pretty big time. Have you interviewed her?
Yeah, have you interviewed your sister?
Rumour has it we've got a kind of
He's on the list. There'll be a little gang war starting soon.
I know, yeah. Back off.
I'm gonna stay Switzerland, so I'm definitely impartial in this.
No, she's doing absolutely incredible.
So you've got this event coming up. You've got the aesthetics. You've got all of this kind of plans. What's the ultimate be all and end all for you guys? What if I said to you, like, if you could have your dream scenario, what does that look like to you?
The dream scenario is this empire is flourishing with people that believe in the brand and the movement, which we've got already.
Yeah.
I feel like the team is yet to grow in certain ways.
Yeah.
I feel like there's people path that we haven't crossed yet that I know are going to naturally join this team, that is going to run the products. We want our product side of things, you know, to be, I mean, at the minute we have Royal Mail come in 3 days a week to pick up the orders. We want that to be 6 days a week. and that to be the main thing.
Big warehouses.
A warehouse, yeah, we'd
Mhm.
love to have a warehouse, and just an office that we can kind of just innovate every day, because at the minute we're trying to juggle everything. Oh my god, we're training today, oh then we're doing lips today, oh then we've got to pack this order, oh and then there's a mess on the floor, we need to clean that.
It's impossible to give 100% to each part of the business. We need help. We need help
with people. So I think the ideal scenario would be having our office in our warehouse, coming into it like, right, let's innovate ideas. That's how I'd see it. I'd happily do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no day that I'd want to retire from that. I'd be like, right.
No, definitely not. And then in the future when we have children, like imagine being able to pass on.
Yeah, that would be a goal as well.
That would be lovely.
On.
Mm. That's beautiful. I think it's always interesting as well to see kind of people's end goal, because it's always different. It's obviously such an individual thing. It could be monetary, it could be freedom, it could like whatever, and each to their own. Like there's no right or wrongs in this life, obviously, without hurting other people, of course. But when it comes to goals and aspirations, that's you guys, and whatever you want. So is there, before we finish today, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or a message that you'd like to leave for the listeners?
Oh, good one.
Oh, I feel like there's pressure now, because I feel like I want to say something real good.
God damn, can I have 5 minutes pause?
Yeah, you could have prepared us for this one. I'm here like frantically googling inspirational quotes.
I would say this is probably only going to aim to a certain demographic, but if you're going into business with somebody else, like I am so lucky that me and Heather are sisters. Like we have each other's back 100%, and I think if you were a friend or I don't know, a long distance relative, I don't know if the outcome would be the same as it is today, because we're just consistently there for each other. And of course we have like our tough days, but I do think we manage it well. We don't fall out. We're here for the same reason, aren't we?
Yeah, we're here for the same reason. And I can't tell you how invaluable it is to have a business partner. If I am having an off day for whatever reason, personal or business wise, Heather's there, and vice versa. If Heather's having a day off, I'm here. If she's going on holiday, I've got the business, vice versa. It's constantly flowing. We've got the businesses back, haven't we, every day of the week forever. So the moral of the story, have a sister. Yeah. But then actually you get so many girls coming here and say, God, I couldn't work with my sister. True. So it's just that business part. Like I couldn't, I just feel like I couldn't do this by myself. No, I couldn't. I just couldn't. It'd be too much. My brain would be Elon Musk. It would have exploded. Yeah. I would have had a seizure. Yeah, it is too much.
You coined a new phrase in the episode today.
I'll end on one little quote. I mentioned it in our podcast like a couple of weeks ago, but consistency is key, and the universe always falls in love with a stubborn heart. So just always constantly get up and just keep going, even if it doesn't work out for you for even like 3 months. Just keep going. Dan, can you give us one piece of advice if you don't mind? Yeah, we need it.
Oh God, I wasn't prepared for that.
I just want one piece of advice off you from your life journey travels that has helped you, that may help us. Haha, I got you.
I know, I've got it here. I've got it. I think it's more about just being mindfully present, just enjoying those little moments. It sounds so cliche, but when I was in India, I'll tell you a story. We went on a tour around the biggest slum in Mumbai, and I was really mixed on it. I thought, I don't know if I want to do that, and I don't know if I want to kind of, not because I didn't want to see it, because I thought, these people don't have anything, and I'm not sure ethically I want to have like a tour guide show me round and pay for someone to do that rounds like this, because I was conflicted by it. And I remember halfway through, I just noticed that everybody was so content. they were so fulfilled, they were so happy. Obviously they had nothing, and I'm sure they, when I say happy, I mean they were just satisfied just being. There was a bunch of kids as well, and they were playing with a stone and like a bunch of rubble, I think it was, and they were playing this game. It was a bit like marbles. They were throwing this one small stone in, and they were all trying to hit the stone, and they were elated. Like they were just enjoying themselves. They loved every second. And I just remember walking away from that thinking that experience was not what I expected at all. I kind of was expecting it to be more along the lines of, like when you see the UNICEF adverts where it's like, you can sponsor a child, those sorts of things. That's what I was kind of thinking. And it was eye-opening to go into it and notice so more content quotes like success. And then I thought the children as well was just a massive thing. I was like, they're so blissfully unaware of what's available in the world. And because of that, there was just content, laugh, being happy and playing with their friends.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I think that's the message, I don't know whether that was advice, but yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest.
It was.
I learned
a hidden message in there.
Yeah. So Heather, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, I'd love to have you girls back on again. We'll talk something, we'll deep dive on something.
Can you teach me how to squat?
Yeah, we booked a PT session actually.
Sure, we'll sort that out at some point.
Well, lovely to meet
you so much.
No problem. Thank you for coming on, and like I said, we'll get you back on soon.